One of the things here you're talking about is whether or not you should get Mortal Reach. I would always go for Mortal Reach, but you do have a couple of plays in this game that the one that you do use, I can't remember what it's called right now, Agony, where Agony works out really, really well. In particular, there's this one Bomb King play that you do where Bomb King winds up getting a triple, I believe. It's pretty intense. The problem I have is that overall, during the duration of a game, I think you get more benefits from Mortal Reach, because with Mortal Reach, without Mortal Reach, you're healing for 2,000 health every 7 seconds. With Mortal Reach, you're healing for 3,000 health every 8 seconds. I think, in general, that is much better. I mean, it's like 40% improvement or something like that, 40% more healing, something along those lines. It winds up adding up a fuck ton throughout the duration of a game. But, like I said, you do have a couple of plays in here where it definitely is good that you had Agony. I'm still not entirely convinced that it would be better overall in most cases. I think on this map, there's actually a really good case for using Agony over Mortal Reach, but it also kind of depends. And their team comp is really good for you to be using Agony instead, because they have three characters with very little mobility, being Ruckus, Tyra, and Barrick. So it's easy for you to get those 4 stacks onto the enemies and then use your Ren Soul to get the stuns off. So I think that's a pretty good case for it overall, but still not entirely convinced. It kind of depends on how well your tank is with his positioning to let you get the healing on him, and there's a few factors on it, but I think in general, Mortal Reach is still better, but I'm not entirely convinced that you'd be better off one way or the other on this particular map in this game. So, won't harp too much on that one. Anyway, this is a very similar loadout to what I use, so I definitely recommend this. If it's not the exact one that I use, it's pretty fucking close. Obviously, you should be picking your first card before the match starts instead of wasting time, but not super big deal being healer. Torvald, I don't really know what he was doing there, but probably just waiting on you, honestly. Use your Q a little early. I don't really see what the point of it was there. You weren't low. I don't think you even got any stuns, so kind of just whatever. If you were to get into a duel right after that, you'd be fucked. Good heal on the sky. See, here's that duel coming up. I don't know why he gives up on you, but oh well. Anyway. Good positioning here, staying over on the left side. I don't like you going over in the middle. But if you had gone out more, you could have saved the Torvald. I'm just going to back up here and show you what I mean. So you got that stun off right there, but it was too early. You kind of ignore your Torvald. Here's healing on him, but then you turn around and just kind of whatever. If you had Mortal Reach, you would have done an extra 1,000 healing. Would have given him more time to go over toward the right side and get in better positioning to not be taking damage. I'm not saying for sure you would have saved him, but it's far more likely. Also, he probably should have picked up Rejuvenate. I don't know what he picked up. Did I see Veteran? I don't even remember. I'll have to look at it next time you hit tab. Or whatever the button is on console. Good healing on the Bomb King. Now that somebody else is here, you should be backing off instead of pressuring forward. Especially because your Torvald's respawned and he'll be coming up any second now. Kind of, well, you're not actually staying in the fire. It looks like you were, but oh well. I don't like your positioning here. You could be further back instead of being here in the fight taking damage. It's not necessarily a bad thing because, I mean, you still have full health right here, but if they chose to focus you, you could get into a bad situation pretty quickly. They do only have 2 of their players out right now. Actually, I think 3 of their players, but I think it is only 2. I'm pretty sure one of them is still pretty far off. So, I'm not entirely sure about that one, but you're not in a bad position overall. I just would be more toward the side. Either side, actually. The right side's good, because you can hide behind that wall there. You don't need to be on point. Somebody could flank behind you right now, and then where are you going to go? You could go to either side, but they could easily chase you. Here, you should be spamming up in these corridors. You could be spamming right here, the one that your you're directly looking at. You could be spamming here to try to dismount people. You could look over toward the right again where your Lex just went and spam through there to try and dismount anybody. Your Lex will probably take care of it anyway if they're on that side, but if they are trying to escape, you can hit them up with some more damage and potentially kill them. The Ying you target, which is okay, just kind of weird positioning. Now you should be spamming up in that window on that left side. Your positioning here is just, you're out in the middle of everything. Your job as a tank is to stay alive. I mean, as a support is to stay alive. Obviously as a tank is too, but it's kind of your responsibility to keep him alive as well. But the less you die, the better your team will do overall. So just got to work on that positioning. I would go over on the left side here. It's a really good position because a lot of people aren't going to go that way. You'll see them coming out of that window, so they will typically try to go around anyway because everybody's looking at that window right away. And it's the fastest route, so people are more likely to just take it by instinct. But obviously anybody coming out of that window is going to be focused down immediately, especially if you're spamming into there like you should be. You'll take them down, probably a quarter of their health before anybody else even does, because you'll have the projectiles already there and they'll just walk right into them. They should be going over on that other side. You'll have line of sight on everybody, especially if your flankers are trying to go in there and catch them off guard. They'll be going up that right side because it's more accessible and more open instead of going into the little corridor of death over here on the left side. So you'd have better line of sight being if you were on the left side right here behind this wall instead of in the center like you are. So you're just staying over toward that right side. I'm not a fan. I understand if you don't want to cross, but it's kind of whatever. Good Q. You didn't need to do it, but I mean you got the kill, so you kind of did your job. That shadow travel is not good because you were taking damage from the Androxus. I think you didn't know exactly where he was, but you should be able to hear it. I'm not wearing headphones because for whatever reason my software isn't recording just the window, so it's actually recording shit from my speaker. So I didn't want to put headphones on. But I think you can tell where that Androxus is with headphones. And then you shadow travel and walk into him. Also nice health right now, by the way. But anyway, you walk right into him. He can see you. If he decided to focus you, you're one shot or a headshot away. Or, I mean, you're 2 shots or 1 headshot away from dying right now. So if he could just turn around and headshot you real quick and you'd be done for. Yeah, I'm not sure if you were trying to heal that Lex right there or not. You should have been. You should have been trying to save him and help him with that duel, because killing that Androxus would really help you out. You should be healing your Torbold here instead of doing these callouts in-game. It's kind of pointless. I understand why you need to do it in-game, and I won't talk about it too much because in a competitive match when you're with your team, you'll be all in a call instead of having to rely on the VGS system. But overall, I think you waste a lot of time here. And there's several times in here where it's actually a big deal and gets you killed. So when you're playing casual matches, I mean, I realize this is competitive, but it's still a casual match because it doesn't actually matter. Just say a ranked game. When you're playing a ranked game or whatever, it's still something to think about so that you don't die. Here, you should have been focused on healing instead of trying to take down the Torvald. I mean the Ruckus, because you use your Q to get off a little bit of extra damage, but he's CC immune during his ult, so it didn't actually do any good. I'm gonna back up here just a second, see if there's anything else. I think, okay, you have your shadow travel, you have your Q up, you could be healing him. Okay, there's your heal gone. So the Torvald was kind of fucked either way. You couldn't heal him back. You could have right there at the end, I think, but I doubt that you would have been able to save him. Maybe if you were using Mortal Reach, but I think he was fucked because he was just in a bad spot and it was a good ult. And again, there's nothing you can do. Even with your Q, you didn't stun him. So. That stun, I think, was too early on that barrack. You didn't need to do it then. You could have continued to duel him and use your Q a little bit later on and potentially won that duel. Especially with the Sky coming out, she could right-click him and right-click, whatever. Shoot the poison darts at him, and you guys probably would have won that duel pretty easily. But you just kind of backed off and stunned him real quick. So, not entirely bad or anything. I mean, nobody died because of it, but it could have been a better play. Yeah, spam this. Spam out these turrets. You did right there. You did kill it after you took like 600 damage during your call out. Which again, like I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but The callouts can wait until you're out of harm's way instead of taking that damage. Bad positioning on well, in this play in general. The Ruckus dashes at you and you don't do anything about it. You could have used your Q to heal up and try to get in a better position, or you could have shadow traveled right away. Your Q, I mean Rensul. Or you could have shadow traveled and gotten out of harm's way, but instead you just kind of stay there and I think use a call out and then die. Also, if you Q'd or used Rensul, you would have stunned him and been able to get out of harm's way. So this is a pretty good position here if you just hold this to heal up your people. Not sure where your Torvald is. Behind you, maybe? Just respawned, I guess? I guess the timing was fucked up. The Bomb King has slow reaction speed. He should have started his sooner. And ideally, you would want the Bomb King to start his ult first, and then you throw yours in, because as you'll see here, your ult is done and over with before he even makes it over there. So they could actually get out of the way. You don't use your Q here, but later on, Rensul, you don't use it here, but later on you actually use it and stun them again to hold them in place after the initial stun from your ult is gone, and then the Bomb King explodes with his ult and winds up getting a triple. And that's a fantastic play. This one just wasn't coordinated well enough, but still got the job done. And then you die. More healing, could have queued, anything like that. I don't like the Haven pickup at all. As easy as it is to get out of situations with Seris, you don't need that defensive card. You should go with a yellow card for your cooldowns, whichever one it is. I don't remember what the class is called, but you should be doing that. And here you're just feeding the reversal and get super close to him again during your shadow travel. I mean, it didn't make any sense for you to do this. You shadow traveled, and instead of backing up, you went forward to him. He can still see you. If you backed up, he wouldn't be able to see you anymore. It's a proximity thing. I don't remember how many units it is. It's like 10 units, I think. Something along that line. Maybe even, actually, probably less than that. It's probably more like 5. But anyway, you get up close to him so he can see you again and just track you. And then you die. Just wasn't a good play. So what was I saying? With the yellow cards, you should be using a yellow card because everybody on your team, like I would go with morale boost here, because every single person on your team combos well with your ult. You can use your ult with the Bomb King like you were just doing. You could use your ult and the Sky could throw her ult and it would do basically the same thing, just more damage without a secondary stun. With Lex, you could throw them all in. Everybody spams at it. He ults, kills everybody. Torvald, if you throw your ult in the right position, he can then ult and blow everybody off the map. So every single person on your team combos well with your ult. You should have gone morale boost, or even Chronos for the extra heals. Especially considering that you went with Agony, you really want that up as much as possible. You do wind up going Chronos, but you could have gone it sooner, and I don't think the defensive card was necessary. If you had better positioning and used your Q or your Rensul and Shadow Travel at better times, you wouldn't need that defensive card. Good positioning here, staying back. I like this. Just keep healing the Torvald. The stun was nice. Wasn't necessary, but again, wasn't bad. Doing good healing here. Pretty good positioning. You're still a little bit more out in the open than I would prefer, and you're not spamming. You should be spamming because it doesn't do anything bad to be spamming and using your left click or trigger or whatever it is. Throwing your projectiles is always going to be a good thing. People can run into them, dismount them, get the extra stacks on them for your Rensul, whatever. And here, just bad positioning. You shouldn't be out in the center like this. And then doing callouts instead of trying to navigate. It's not a good plan. Could have been healing that Torvald to help yourself stay alive. Or Shadow Travel. I believe you had Shadow Travel up there. Ultimate's ready. You're telling the Bomb King it's good. And see, he recognizes it. So should be healing up that Bomb King. See, he goes over there and you just ignore him. Instead of healing him, you just let him die. It's really bad. You lose this team fight, yeah, because if you had your Bomb King still, you would have been fine. He would have been taking pressure off of the Torvald, potentially killing their damage dealers. You see, their Tyra's been dead, but that Ruckus is doing a lot of damage. Bomb King is a good counter to that, especially if he had thrown his Q off and or his grumpy bomb and tried to zone a little bit. So I think if you healed him, this team fight would have gone better. But I believe you still wind up getting the point. I'm not entirely sure on that. We'll see in just a second. Also, healing him heals you, so it's always good to be healing somebody as much as possible. Whenever they need it, because it'll heal you back up. Then again, you're not spamming the turrets like you should be. They're just slowly ticking damage off at you. Oh well. Here, you should have been queuing instead of reloading, but you still wind up getting it, so it's all good. Good positioning here, getting out of the way. Shadow Travel was useless. You wasted it in case you need it for a duel here, and you wind up dying. You could have saved your Shadow Travel for when you actually needed it to escape that. You probably wouldn't have died. And then you could be healing your Torvald instead of making him sit off in a corner right now waiting for being out of combat to heal him. You should be spamming your orbs on either side right now. You spam them through that door, spam them at that person over there. I believe that Sky over there is really going to need healing here in a second, and I think you wind up kind of ignoring her. But you could be spamming your orbs anywhere and trying to dismount people before they make it to you and get a little bit of damage on them and stacks for your Ren Soul. So there's a lot of really good benefits from just spamming the fuck out of your main attack. I don't even remember what button it is on here. Your R2. There's a whole bunch of benefits from doing that. So you should be healing her. You can see that she has a shield, but I think you end up healing the Lex instead of the Sky? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, you're in bad position trying to duel this Ruckus, and you call out instead of trying to escape more. You make it out, so it's not too terribly bad. So your heal is back up, but you just try to do more damage instead of saving people. I'm not really sure what you were thinking there. You could have saved that Torvald, I think. Or at least let him survive a little bit longer. Useless Shadow Travel here. There was absolutely no need for it. Especially considering you cancel it early. Good spamming. Good callouts also to tell you people where to go. I see you trying to heal that Lex. It doesn't quite work. Maybe it weren't aimed properly, but it was good. This, however, is a useless endeavor. They can outrun your Spirit Orbs, or whatever the fuck they're called. So you were just unnecessarily drawing attention to yourself. I think they even noticed it, though, somehow. I don't know how the fuck they didn't see this. It winds up putting you in a bad spot, but you shouldn't have been chasing them down. You could have gotten up with your tank, just been in a better position to ignore them, and if they were coming up at you from behind, you would have known they were there, so you could have been like pre-firing, doing your spamming, and trying to get stacks on them instead of chasing them down. Should have been healing that Sky. You saw she was low. Again, feeding the reversal. I'm not sure why you keep doing this. You should know, and Androxus is just going to throw this shit right back at you, especially if he's using the legendary that gives him the 800 base damage. He can easily take you down to half health with you just spamming. I think it's 3 orbs into it. Because he does 75% of what gets fed into it, and then there's the 800 base. So if you spam into it 3 times, that's 630 damage times 75% is like roughly 480 or something like that, plus the 800 base. That's that's about 1200 damage, which is just under half of your life. So since you're already low here, he could easily take you to under half health, and then you'd be in a bad situation. There you go. Like I said, half health. You just spammed into it, and I think he is using that legendary action now that I look at how much damage you did take from that. So you could have gotten yourself into a real shitty situation. Good callouts here to tell you people where to go. Both of those kind of useless, but whatever. Spamming at the tower, definitely a good thing. Spamming at the turret is a really good idea. I'm not sure you were intentionally aiming at the turret instead of the barrack, but whatever, it works. Even if you hit the turret, your soul orbs keep going and they'll hit the barrack. Or if the barrack's in front of it, whatever, they'll hit the turret too. So it works out either way. This is just good spamming. Good heals. Pretty good positioning. I like healing the Sky here to keep her alive. She is your flank. She's important. You should be spamming at those turrets. Right here. Bam. That stun right there, the additional stun from your... Fuck, I forgot the name of it. Whatever legendary you're using. Is it Mercy? No, that's not right. What the fuck was it called? Whatever. Either way, really, really good. Fantastic play. He gets a triple here, actually. Wait for it. There's the triple. Amazing play. It really was. The coordination could have been a little bit better, but obviously it works just fucking fine. You get a quadra. All they have left is their Ying, and their Ying ain't gonna do shit. So really good play, which is the main. That play right there is the main reason why I'm not harping too much on having Mortal Reach. You could be spamming here in these windows to try and dismount people. Yeah, you're spamming a little bit, but not nearly enough, in my opinion. You should definitely be spamming more. But then again, when the payload is this close, you see you're at a weird angle, and nobody's going to be trying to come out right there. Right now, anyway. It's pretty unlikely. The only person that might, potentially, would be Barrack or Ying. The Andro's probably going to dash up above and try to do something. Shit like that. I doubt anybody's going to be trying to come through there right now. But you could be spamming over here as far to the left as you can to try and cut them off. Give them a line that they have to walk across and take damage to get over to you guys. But you don't seem to spam much. Be careful, Colin. You're also way too close here. And this shadow travel is completely useless. You didn't need to do this, and it puts you in a bad spot. But you also are just in a bad spot naturally right here, because you shouldn't be this close to payload. That's what your Torvald is for. And honestly, your Bomb King can help tank rather than you being right there. You should be in a position to be able to heal everybody, not being in a position where you need healing. Walking on the fire a little bit, whatever. Here, you had your Q, you got the stun off, was really good. But if you hadn't used your shadow travel, you'd be able to escape this. And you're lucky you lasted that long. You wound up surviving this, which is a fucking miracle. It's because the Ruckus, for whatever reason, decided to no longer focus you. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. That was a bad play on him. That's the only reason you survived that. If you hadn't wasted your shadow travel, you would have been able to get out of that much sooner and been in a much better place overall, and then the Ruckus would have forgotten about you. He did turn back around to look at you after he looked away for whatever reason, and that's why you had to use your shadow travel again. But you could have used it to get in a good position where he would ignore you, and then you would just spam behind him and be able to use your Q again and stun him. But anyway, you survive it. He goes down. Whatever. Just heal your Torvald. There you go. I think you canceled it early, which is always a bad idea because you're healing them more, which is good. You can see he's not quite full. It's pretty close, but he's not full. And the longer you heal, the more health you get. It's like 210 a second or something like that, I think is what card you're using. So, the more healing you do, the more healing you're giving yourself. So don't cancel it early unless you have to. Yeah, that Andro, there's not shit you can do about that. You could have spammed at him a little bit, but it wouldn't have made a difference. Your shadow travel. This has to go completely with the whole way your last play was done. If you use the shadow travel at a better time, you probably would have had it up right there again, but you use it at a weird fucking time and then wind up using it again later to escape the damage, and then the Ruckus dies. Whereas if you had used it at a better time, like after, instead of using it when you didn't need it, you waited a second, used it to get behind the Ruckus like I was saying, take him out, then it would have been back up again for this Androxus ult, and you would have been able to use it and not take the damage from this. So it's pretty complex, the way that goes right there. I'm sorry that it could, obviously that's just theoretical shit anyway right now, but that should be the way it goes. You would have had it up if you had used your shadow travel at a better time to begin with. It's really not that big a deal because I think, oh yeah, it's only you and the Bomb King going down, so actually that is a pretty big deal. Now your 12-volt goes down because you weren't there to save him, and that's it. So yeah, not a super there's not too terribly much going wrong in this, aside from the only problems I have with it are your positioning. It's just not good most of the time. Sometimes you do have great positioning, but other than that, it's using your Q and F at better times to help you survive later on, rather than just going for damage. Or I don't know if I think a lot of the times you use your F because you panic and then cancel it real quick. It kind of puts you in a bad situation. So either I suggest if you panic and use it, I suggest letting it go as far as you can and getting into a better position and hiding, so that you're in a better position to heal people and get yourself in a good situation, so you're not scared anymore. Instead of just like panic hitting it and then you're like, fuck, I panicked and hit it, and then you cancel it and you're still in a bad situation. So just avoid that. You use it when you could just easily walk out of harm's way. It's kind of whatever. I understand the panic dash or whatever as I call it. That's really about it. Your Q with this particular build, I understand why you're using your Q so often, because you have to in order to get use out of that legendary card, which again is why I'm not a big fan of it and I want the Mortal Reach, because you feel like you need to use the Q more often to get use out of the legendary card, and then it puts you in a bad position because you use it when you don't need heals because you want that stun rather than using it to save your own life. So it's kind of personal preference, but at the same time, if you look at the pro scene, there's not a single pro that's using that legendary over Mortal Reach. But you definitely got some good use out of it here. So those are my opinions and tips for you right here. Hopefully I wasn't too much of an asshole. I don't think I was. I was pretty chill with all of it, I'm pretty sure. Oh well, I'm sure you'll let me know. And yeah, I can look at more videos if you want. I did watch a couple more of your videos that you put out, and I see a lot of the same mistakes. There's one in particular on Bright Marsh where I did see some stuff that doesn't necessarily apply to this game here, but in general, it's a lot of the same mistakes just over and over. You need better positioning, and if you really want good tips on good healers, you can look up. It's like Omgimabird TV, all one word. He just goes by Bird. He's one of the best healers in Paladins, and he's who taught me a lot of this shit. So he's a really good person to watch. And other than that, if you want, I can look over some of your other videos and do the same kind of thing and let you know. Hopefully it won't take as long. I feel like this one is really long because I had to get as much information as possible in one. But if I do another video, it probably won't be quite so bad because I don't have to go over exactly the same stuff. I can just reference what I was talking about here. So anyway, up to you. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit.